Nova Haven glowed like a jewel in the eternal night, its biodome stretching across the terraformed surface of humanity's most distant colony. Director Marcus Walsh stood at the observation deck, watching farmers tend to their hydroponic gardens while children played in the artificial gravity zones. 30 years of peace had transformed this barren rock into a symbol of human persistence and ingenuity. He never saw the first strike coming. The Krivax warships emerged from quantum space like obsidian daggers, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The colony's warning systems, designed for meteorite detection rather than military threats, remained silent until the first plasma beam carved through the main agricultural dome. In the chaos that followed, Walsh's training from his old military days took over. "Emergency Protocol Delta," his voice boomed through the colony's comm system. "All civilians to the underground shelters." He watched in horror as the alien ships methodically targeted critical infrastructure, power plants, water recyclers, atmospheric processors. The Krivax weren't interested in resources or territory. This was about dominance, about crushing the spreading influence of humanity in what they considered their domain. As Walsh coordinated the evacuation, his second-in-command, Olivia Reeves, burst into the command center, her dark skin covered in soot. "They're targeting the residential sectors," she reported, voice steady despite the tremors that shook the building. "These aren't raiders or pirates. Their attacks are too precise, too coordinated." Walsh nodded grimly. "Get me a connection to Earth Command. Use the quantum entanglement transmitter." It was their last resort, a piece of experimental technology that hadn't been tested at this distance. But they had no choice. The attack continued through what passed for night on Nova Haven. The Krivax were thorough, methodical in their destruction. They didn't just want to disable the colony, they wanted to erase it. Walsh led a group of survivors through maintenance tunnels, watching through surveillance feeds as alien ground forces landed, their crystalline armor glinting under the fires they'd started. Among the refugees was Dr. James Harrison, the colony's lead xenobiologist. His face was streaked with tears as he clutched a data core to his chest. "All our work," he whispered, 20 years of peaceful research, attempts to understand other species, and this is their answer. The survival bunker was crowded with terrified colonists when the message finally came through. Earth had received their distress call, but the response wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of diplomatic channels opening or promises of negotiation, a single transmission arrived. "Hold position. The 7th Fleet is incoming. They will pay." Walsh felt a chill run down his spine. In 3 decades of colonial expansion, Earth had maintained a peaceful stance, focusing on scientific exploration and cultural exchange. But he remembered the military briefings, the contingency plans kept under the tightest security. Earth hadn't forgotten how to fight, they'd just chosen not to. The Krivax discovered this truth 12 hours later. Their ships, arranged in standard occupation formation, detected the quantum ruptures too late. Earth's 7th Fleet didn't emerge gradually or announce their presence. They tore into regular space like vengeful gods, their ships bristling with weapons that weren't supposed to exist under various peace treaties. Leading the charge was the EDS Prometheus, a dreadnought that had been officially decommissioned years ago. In reality, it had been upgraded in secret, transformed into something that made the Krivax vessels look primitive in comparison. At its helm stood Admiral Vincent Drake, an old war hawk who had spent years warning the Council about the dangers lurking in deep space. "All ships weapons free," Drake's command echoed through the fleet. "Show them what happens when you attack our people." The battle that followed wasn't really a battle, it was an execution. The 7th Fleet had been built and maintained in secret, its true capabilities hidden behind layers of political misdirection. While Earth presented a peaceful face to the galaxy, they had never stopped preparing for war. From the bunker, Walsh and the survivors watched through surviving sensors as humanity revealed its other face. Krivax ships, supposedly protected by advanced shields, were torn apart by weapons that ignored their defenses completely. Earth Marines in powered armor cut through the alien ground forces like they were made of paper, their suits incorporating technology reverse-engineered from a dozen different species. When it was over, when the last Krivak's ship had been reduced to atoms, Admiral Drake's message played through every working speaker in the colony. This is just the beginning. They thought we were weak because we chose peace. They're about to learn how wrong they were. As Walsh helped coordinate the rescue efforts, watching Earth ships secure the system, he thought about how this moment would be remembered. This wasn't just an attack and a response. It was the end of an era. Humanity had spent generations proving they could live in peace with the galaxy. Now they would prove something else, that peace was a choice, not a weakness. The survivors emerged from their bunkers to find Earth's Marines already setting up emergency shelters and medical stations. But these weren't just humanitarian forces. Every soldier was armed for war, their expressions grim and determined. Nova Haven would be rebuilt, but it would also be transformed into something new. A fortress on the edge of space, a reminder to any other species that might mistake humanity's peaceful nature for vulnerability. Dr. Harrison stood beside Walsh as they watched Earth ships dominate the sky. "What happens now?" the xenobiologist asked quietly. Walsh thought about the reports already flooding and other colonies mobilizing, hidden military bases revealing themselves across human space, diplomatic channels going silent. "Now," he said, "we show the galaxy why Earth spent so long trying to maintain peace, because we remembered what we're capable of when we choose war instead." The war room deep within Luna Command hummed with controlled fury. Holographic displays showed the spreading conflict across known space, red markers indicating Krivak's strongholds, blue markers tracking Earth's rapidly mobilizing forces. Admiral Vincent Drake stood at the center of it all, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays. The Nova Haven attack was just the beginning, he addressed the assembled military leadership. "We've confirmed similar strikes against 3 other outer colonies. The Krivaks aren't just testing our defenses, they're trying to erase our presence from the galaxy." Colonel Jasmine Tang, head of Special Operations, stepped forward. Her cybernetic eye glowed faintly as she processed tactical data. "Our deep cover agents report movement throughout Krivak's space. They're mobilizing their entire fleet. They think we're going to respond like the other species they've subjugated, with surrender and submission." "Then let's show them how wrong they are." The new voice belonged to General Thaddeus Kingston, a giant of a man whose dark skin bore the scars of countless battles. He'd spent the last decade disguised as a civilian advisor, helping coordinate Earth's hidden military buildup. "The Ghost Protocol is ready. All our Shadow shipyards are online." The Ghost Protocol had been Earth's best-kept secret, a massive military infrastructure hidden in plain sight. Civilian stations that could transform into fortresses, cargo ships carrying experimental weapons, and entire fleets concealed in dimensional pockets. While humanity preached peace, they had prepared for war. Drake nodded grimly. "Begin Phase 1. I want strikes on every Krivak's outpost within 50 light-years of human space. Show no mercy. They attacked civilians, they don't get to claim protection under the galactic conventions." Across human-controlled space, the transformation was already beginning. The peaceful facade crumbled away to reveal humanity's other face. Commercial stations unveiled gun batteries and missile silos. Diplomatic vessels shed their civilian outer hulls, revealing warships bristling with weapons. Even the colonies themselves were changing, defensive systems emerging from hidden bunkers and underground hangars. On the EDS Hyperion, Commander Raj Patel watched his crew prepare for their first strike. The ship had masqueraded as a long-range research vessel for years, visiting distant systems under the guise of scientific exploration. Now its true purpose would be revealed. "Target identified," his tactical officer, Lieutenant Wei Chen, reported. "Krivak's command post on Helios Prime. Their shields are at standard strength. They don't expect any resistance in this sector." Patel allowed himself a cold smile. "Show them their mistake. All batteries fire when ready." The Hyperion's attack became a template for what followed. The Krivaks, accustomed to facing primitive defensive weapons, found themselves against technology that shouldn't have existed. Quantum phase torpedoes bypassed their strongest shields. Gravity lances crushed their ships into artificial singularities. Dark matter beams simply erased whatever they touched from existence. Back in the war room, reports flooded in. Colonel Tang's expression remained neutral as she read them aloud. Krivak's outpost in the Centauri sector destroyed. Military installation on Nexus III eliminated. Their frontier defense fleets scattered or destroyed. No survivors at any target location. Good, Drake's response was cold. Now for Phase 2, General Kingston, are your special units ready? Kingston's smile was predatory. The Phantoms are eager to prove themselves. We've got teams inserted near every major Krivak's population center, just waiting for your word. The Phantoms were something new special forces equipped with technology that bordered on magic. Quantum ghost suits that could phase through solid matter, neural disruptors that could shut down entire defense networks, and weapons that targeted specific genetic markers. They were Earth's answer to decades of alien aggression, designed to strike at enemies who thought themselves untouchable. In the Krivak's home system, High Commander Vexther stood before his war council, his crystalline carapace dulled with stress. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "These were supposed to be primitive colonies, defenseless, easy targets." His intelligence chief, a being of living shadow named Markath, spoke softly. "We were wrong. All our data was wrong. They showed us what they wanted us to see. Every human ship we scanned, every facility we monitored, they were all facades." Before Vexther could respond, the chamber's lights flickered. Warning sirens began to wail. "Multiple breaches detected," the security system announced. "Unknown entities penetrating all defense layers, unable to track, unable to engage." The Phantoms had arrived. Through the panic that followed, through the screams and chaos as Earth's elite forces demonstrated their capabilities, Vexther finally understood. Humanity hadn't spent the last 30 years learning to live in peace. They had spent it learning how to wage a kind of war the galaxy had never seen before. On the Hyperion, Commander Patel received new orders. His crew had just finished destroying their third Krivak's installation when the transmission came through. "All ships, this is Admiral Drake. Phase 2 is in effect. Push toward their core worlds. Let them feel what our colonies felt. Let them know what it means to face humanity's wrath." As the ship prepared to jump, Patel thought about all the years they'd spent hiding their true nature. The countless drills disguised as research missions. The weapons tests concealed as technological accidents. The training masked as routine maintenance. It had all led to this moment. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen called out, "I'm detecting civilian populations near our next target." Patel's expression didn't change. "The Krivaks didn't care about our civilians. Maintain course." The Admiral's orders were clear: no mercy. The war that followed would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity. Species that had dismissed Earth as a minor power watched in terror as human fleets systematically dismantled one of the oldest and most powerful empires in known space. The peaceful explorers and traders they had known were gone, replaced by something ancient and terrible, a species that had spent its history learning the art of war, and had simply chosen not to practice it until now. In the war room, watching the blue markers of Earth's forces push deeper into enemy territory, Admiral Drake remembered an old quote: "Demons run when a good man goes to war." Humanity had been good, had tried to be peaceful. The Krivaks had mistaken that for weakness. Now they would learn what happened when humanity chose to embrace its other nature. Deep within the research facility beneath Mount Olympus on Mars, Dr. Reina Nakamura stood before a wall of holographic displays, each showing different aspects of the war effort. As Earth's leading quantum physicist, she had spent decades developing technologies that the public thought impossible. Now, those creations were changing the face of warfare. "Project Phoenix is ready for deployment," she announced to the assembled military leaders. Her team had worked without rest since the Nova Haven attack, perfecting weapons that had previously existed only in theory. "The quantum fold drives are stable. We can begin retrofitting the entire fleet." Major Victor Torres, the grizzled veteran liaison between the Science Division and Military Command, whistled low. "You're telling me we can actually teleport entire battleships now? No quantum wake, no detection possible." Reina nodded, her augmented eyes glowing softly as she brought up detailed schematics. The Krivax rely on predictable quantum signatures for their FTL detection. Our new drives operate on principles they haven't even discovered yet. Will be ghosts in their systems. The implications were staggering. Earth ships could now strike anywhere without warning, without being tracked. The Krivax's vast early warning network, built over centuries, had just become obsolete. On the front lines, the war was already transforming. Commander Patel's Hyperion led a strike force deep into enemy territory, using the new technology to devastating effect. They appeared in the heart of a Krivax fortress system, their weapons already firing before the enemy's sensors registered their presence. Multiple targets eliminated, Lieutenant Chen reported, his fingers dancing across the tactical display. Enemy response time is dropping. They're starting to fear us. Patel watched as another Krivax battlecruiser disappeared in a flash of quantum fire. Fear isn't enough. They need to understand that every attack on our people comes with a price. Launch the Nemesis drones. The Nemesis program was another of humanity's hidden arrows, swarms of AI-driven weapons platforms that could think and adapt faster than any organic crew. They had been banned under various treaties, so Earth had simply never admitted to having them. In the Krivax command center on their throne world, High Commander Vexther received the reports with growing dread. "They're not just defeating us," he growled to his advisors. "They're systematically dismantling everything we built, every advantage we thought we had." His new intelligence chief, the previous one having disappeared during a phantom raid, projected a tactical overview. "Their technology. It's as if they spent decades studying our weaknesses, developing specific counters to every strategy we've ever used." The truth was even more frightening. Humanity hadn't just prepared for the Krivax. They had prepared for everyone. Every alien technology they encountered, every diplomatic exchange, every trade agreement had been an opportunity to learn, to analyze, to find weaknesses that could be exploited if necessary. Back on Mars, Dr. Nakamura unveiled the next phase of humanity's technological revolution. "The quantum entanglement network is online," she announced. "Every ship in the fleet can now coordinate instantaneously, regardless of distance. The lag time that the Krivax depend on for their battle strategies, it's gone." Major Torres shook his head in amazement. "All these years we let them think we were still struggling with basic FTL communication, that we needed their relays and networks." "We needed them to underestimate us," Reyna replied softly. "Now they're paying the price for their arrogance." The war entered a new phase. Earth's ships moved like a single organism, appearing and disappearing across vast distances, striking with impossible precision. The Nemesis swarms adapted to every Krivax countermeasure before it was even fully deployed. The Phantom teams continued their ghost-like infiltration of enemy strongholds, leaving destruction and terror in their wake. But it wasn't just military technology that gave humanity its edge. The colonies that had appeared vulnerable and primitive revealed themselves to be forward operating bases, equipped with defenses that had been carefully hidden beneath peaceful facades. On Nova Haven, now transformed into a fortress world, Director Walsh oversaw the deployment of planetary defense systems that had been concealed since the colony's founding. "Every settlement we built," he explained to Dr. Harrison, "every peaceful outpost, was designed to become a stronghold if necessary. We never forgot what happened to Earth during the first contact wars." The xenobiologist watched as massive gun platforms emerged from what had been farmland, their barrels tracking distant stars. "All this time, I thought we were just scientists and colonists." "We are scientists and colonists," Walsh replied. "But we're human first, and humanity learned long ago to be prepared for the worst while hopping for the best." In deep space, the Hyperion and its battle group continued their advance toward the Krivax core worlds. Commander Patel received regular updates from Earth Command, each one revealing new capabilities that had been kept hidden until now. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen called out during one particularly intense engagement, "the enemy is attempting to adapt to our quantum fold drives. They're trying to track our signature." Patel allowed himself a grim smile. "Activate the phase shift protocols. Let's show them why trying to understand our technology is a dangerous game. The Hyperion's hull shimmed, its quantum signature changing in ways that defied the laws of physics as the Krivax understood them. Their targeting systems, already struggling to lock onto the human ships, now faced an enemy that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. In the Mars facility, Dr. Nakamura watched the battle data flow in, her augmented mind processing the results of decades of hidden research finally being put to use. "The phase shift is stable," she reported. "The Krivax literally cannot comprehend what they're seeing. Their entire understanding of quantum mechanics is being proven wrong in real time." Major Tors studied the tactical displays with professional appreciation. "You know what the scariest part is? We're still not showing them everything. There are weapons in development that make these look primitive. That's why humanity survived when so many other species fell to the Krivax," Reyna said quietly. "We never stopped preparing for war, even while we worked for peace. Every scientific breakthrough, every technological advancement had a military application hidden behind it. We just prayed we'd never have to use them." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's true nature revealed itself. The peaceful traders and explorers had been real, but they had been a choice, not a limitation. Now, faced with extinction, humanity showed why Earth's history was filled with tales of war and conquest, and why they had worked so hard to choose a different path. The crystalline spires of Krivax Prime pierced the violet clouds like ancient daggers, their surfaces reflecting the light of three suns. For millennia, these towers had stood as symbols of the Empire's supremacy. Now they cast long shadows over a civilization gripped by fear. Inside the Imperial Chamber, the Krivax High Council gathered in unprecedented emergency session. High Commander Vexther's crystalline form had dulled significantly, stress fractures visible across his carapace. "The humans have breached the Hadron Gate," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Our last major defensive line has fallen. There." A distant explosion interrupted him, making the ancient crystal walls shudder. In orbit above the Krivax throne world, Commander Patel stood on the Hyperion's bridge, watching the battle unfold. The combined might of Earth's hidden fleets had arrived, revealing the full extent of humanity's military power. Ships emerged from quantum space in perfect formation, their weapons already targeting crucial infrastructure. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Chen announced. "The Nemesis swarms are in position. Phantom teams have infiltrated their primary defense grid." Patel nodded grimly. "Begin the final phase. Show them what happens when you mistake human peace for human weakness." The attack that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Earth's ships moved with impossible precision, their quantum-fold drives allowing them to appear and disappear at will. The Nemesis swarms adapted faster than the Krivax could respond, turning their own defensive systems against them. But it was on the ground that humanity truly demonstrated why they had been feared in ancient times. The Phantom teams, led by Colonel Tang herself, moved like living shadows through the crystalline cities. Their quantum ghost suits allowed them to phase through solid matter, appearing inside the most secure facilities without warning. In her command center on Mars, Dr. Nakamura monitored the assault through quantum-entangled feeds. "The Krivax are attempting to activate their doomsday protocols," she reported to Major Tors. "They'd rather destroy their own civilization than admit defeat." "Not happening," Tors growled, sending new orders to the front. "We didn't come this far to let them take the easy way out." Deep within the Crystal Cities, Colonel Tang's team reached the central control nexus. The phantom suits rendered them nearly invisible, their forms rippling like heat mirages as they moved. "Target located," she sub-vocalized through the quantum comm. "Beginning override sequence." The Krivax had always prided themselves on their technological superiority, but they had never faced an enemy who had spent decades specifically studying how to defeat them. Human infiltration programs, disguised as routine system updates from their own technicians, had been planting backdoors in their networks for years. As Tang's team worked, Commander Patel received a priority transmission from Admiral Drake. The Council of Worlds is watching, the Admiral's hologram stated. Make sure they understand why attacking Earth was their last mistake. Understood, sir, Patel replied. Initiating Protocol Omega. The Hyperion's hull began to shift, revealing weapon systems that defied conventional physics. Dr. Nakamura's latest creations were about to be unveiled, weapons that didn't just destroy their targets, but rewrote the very laws of reality around them. In the Imperial Chamber, High Commander Vexthor watched in horror as his empire crumbled. The humans weren't just defeating them, they were systematically dismantling everything the Krivax had built. Each strike was precisely calculated to demonstrate humanity's superiority. How, he demanded of his advisors, how did we not see this coming? The answer came from an unexpected source. A human voice, speaking perfect Krivax, echoed through the chamber. Colonel Tang materialized from thin air, her phantom suit rippling as it adjusted to visible spectrum. You saw what we wanted you to see, she said, her voice cold. Every peaceful colony, every diplomatic mission, every trade agreement, they were all real. But they were also opportunities to study you, to learn your weaknesses, to prepare for this moment. Above the planet, the space battle reached its climax. The Hyperion led the final assault, its new weapons reducing Krivax warships to their component atoms. But they weren't just destroying ships, they were making a statement to the galaxy. Sir, Lieutenant Chen reported, we're detecting transmissions from multiple species in nearby systems. They're watching this. Good, Patel replied. Let them watch. Let them all understand what happens when you mistake humanity's restraint for weakness. In the Mars Command Center, Dr. Nakamura and Major Torres watched the quantum feeds with mixed emotions. The technology they had helped develop was reshaping the galaxy's power structure in real time. Was this always inevitable? Nakamura asked softly. Did we spend all those years preparing for peace only to prove we're better at war? Torres shook his head. We spent those years proving we could choose peace, even when we had the power to choose otherwise. The Krivax forced this confrontation. We're just showing them why we worked so hard to avoid it. The fall of Krivax Prime marked more than just the end of an empire. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity's peaceful nature was a choice, not a limitation. They had spent generations building bridges between species, fostering trade and cultural exchange, all while maintaining the capability to reduce any threat to atoms. As the dust settled and the quantum storms cleared, Commander Patel stood on his bridge, watching the Krivax leadership being taken into custody. Earth's victory was total, but it wasn't just military triumph they had achieved. They had fundamentally changed how the galaxy would view humanity forever. Send word to Earth Command, he ordered. The Krivax Empire has fallen, their military capability is destroyed, their leadership is in custody. He paused, then added, and let them know the other species are requesting emergency diplomatic meetings. They want to revise their treaties with Earth. The message was clear. Humanity's age of playing the quiet, peaceful newcomer was over. They had revealed their true nature, a species capable of unmatched destruction, who had chosen peace not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. And now the galaxy would have to come to terms with this new reality. 3 months after the fall of Krivax Prime, the Grand Council chamber on Luna Station hummed with tension. Representatives from 200 alien species gathered, their eyes fixed on the human delegation. Admiral Drake stood at the central podium, his dress uniform gleaming under the artificial lights, medals from a war that had revealed humanity's true nature adorning his chest. The galaxy's balance has shifted, he addressed the assembled dignitaries. Not because we wanted it to, but because we were forced to reveal what humanity has always been capable of. The question now is, what kind of peace will follow? In the observation gallery, Commander Patel sat beside Dr. Nakamura, watching the proceedings. The Hyperion floated visible through the massive viewport behind the chamber, its quantum-shifted hull a reminder of humanity's technological superiority. They're terrified of us now, Nakamura observed quietly. Every species that dismissed us as primitive colonists is reassessing everything they thought they knew about Earth. Patel nodded grimly. Fear isn't what we wanted, but perhaps it will keep the peace better than our previous approach. Below them, the Galactic Council was learning just how thoroughly they had underestimated humanity. Director Walsh, now serving as Earth's diplomatic coordinator, presented evidence of how deeply human intelligence had penetrated every major civilization. While we traded openly and honestly, Walsh explained, we also learned. Every diplomatic mission carried sensors, every cultural exchange revealed military capabilities, every peaceful colony masked a fortress, not because we wanted war, but because Earth's history taught us to be prepared for it. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably as classified files appeared on their datapads. Secrets they thought impossible for humans to know, weaknesses they believed were hidden, all carefully documented and analyzed over decades of peaceful interaction. On Nova Haven, now transformed into a major military hub, Dr. Harrison stood in the rebuilt botanical gardens. The colony's peaceful facade had been permanently altered. Defense platforms rose between the hydroponics domes, and quantum shield generators hummed constantly. But farmers still tended their crops, and children still played in the artificial gravity zones. "We're still who we were," he told a group of alien scientists who had come to study human resilience. "We're still explorers, researchers, dreamers. We just proved we can be warriors too, when necessary." Back in the council chamber, Colonel Tang's presentation drew gasps from the assembled diplomats. The Phantom Team's capabilities were finally revealed, technology that made human operatives virtually godlike in their ability to penetrate any defense. "Every species here has secrets," she stated bluntly. "We know most of them. We've had the capability to exploit them for years. We chose not to because we genuinely wanted peace. Remember that choice when you consider your future relationships with Earth." In orbit around Mars, Major Torres led a delegation of alien military observers through the newly revealed shipyards. Vessels that defied conventional physics were under construction, incorporating technologies that most species had thought impossible. "The Krivaks thought they could subjugate us because we appeared vulnerable," he explained. "They never understood that our greatest weapon wasn't our technology or our soldiers. It was our patience, our willingness to prepare for centuries while appearing harmless." The revelation of humanity's true capabilities had ripple effects throughout the galaxy. Species that had been subjugated by the Krivaks for generations now looked to Earth for protection. Trade agreements were hastily revised, giving human merchants unprecedented access to alien markets. Dr. Nakamura's quantum research facility received thousands of applications from alien scientists, all eager to understand how humanity had made such leaps in technology while appearing to struggle with basic principles. "We'll share some of it," she told her team as they reviewed the applications. "Enough to maintain peace through mutual advancement, but Earth learned its lesson about revealing everything. Some secrets stay buried." In the council chamber, Admiral Drake concluded Earth's presentation. "Humanity spent generations proving we could live peacefully in this galaxy. Now we've proven what happens when that peace is violated. The choice of which face of humanity you see in the future rests with you." The response was immediate. Species after species stepped forward to sign new treaties with Earth, not treaties between equals, but acknowledgments of humanity's new position in the galactic hierarchy. Commander Patel watched from the gallery as the new order took shape. "We wanted to be peaceful explorers," he mused. "Instead, we've become the galaxy's peacekeepers." "Perhaps that's not so different," Nakamura replied. "We're still protecting the weak, still advancing knowledge, still working toward a better galaxy. We're just doing it from a position of acknowledged strength rather than perceived weakness." As the council session ended, news spread throughout human space. On colonies and stations, in research facilities and military bases, humans received the message. Their long masquerade was over. They were no longer pretending to be just another species finding its way in the galaxy. On Nova Haven, Director Walsh stood at the same observation deck where he had witnessed the Krivaks' attack. The colony had been rebuilt, stronger than before, but still dedicated to its original purpose, proving that humanity could create rather than destroy. "We chose peace," he told Dr. Harrison as they watched ships arrive from across the galaxy, carrying diplomats and traders eager to curry favor with Earth. "We still choose it, but now everyone knows it's a choice, not a necessity, and that makes all the difference." The age of humanity hiding its true nature was over. The Terran Age had begun, an era where human ships patrolled trade routes, human diplomats mediated disputes, and human technology set the standard for advancement. Not through conquest or subjugation, but through the demonstrated ability to be either the galaxy's greatest allies or its most terrible enemies. The choice, as Admiral Drake had said, belonged to the galaxy. Humanity had simply revealed its true nature, a species capable of both extraordinary creation and unmatched destruction, who had mastered the art of war so thoroughly that they could afford to choose peace instead.